guys, Brian here at 3TR, and I got another top 10 video for you. And this time I'll be sharing you my personal top 10 favorite comic book based movies of all time. And I would like to state that this is the last time I'm going to use this particular setting for a top 10s video. I'd like to move to different locations to make them all feel a little bit different from each other. Now going on to number 10, I have Superman 2. Now Superman 2 at this point in time is unquestionably the best live action Superman film that we have to date, starring Christopher Reeves as a really well lighthearted Superman. But this particular story, bringing in General Zod and his two allies, kind of goes to a much darker place in my opinion, and it really shows a side of Superman of him having to choose between having a personal life with Lois or trying to be the, great world savior as Superman, and what happens when he chooses his own personal needs over the needs of the many, or as, Spock would say, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. It's very well casted, very well acted. For its time, it certainly had some very good, background effects, and I think some of the elements have still stained the essence of time, and heck, it's Superman, you gotta love him, except for maybe Superman's 3 and 4. You can dump all over those. Number 9 on my list is Blade 2. Now, Blade 2 is a really great, really example of how Marvel can really use the R rating to really show just how dark and gritty a character can be. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blade is a half-human, half-vampire hunter who goes around with a very, very unique set of weapons and kills vampires in, well, very graphic and brutal ways. In this particular movie, I liked that the Reaper threat was really a type of enemy that Blade really hadn't faced before but was very compatible with. And to see that he had many things in common with the main villain in this particular film really did bring out the whole idea of what would happen if Blade had actually allied himself with this Reaper guy, because they both have a hatred of vampires and they're both victims of their fate. They were kind of born to be monsters and didn't even really have the choice of free will. So to have the hero and the villain actually have many things in common really stands out as being the best out of all the Blade films in my opinion. Number 8 on my list is Batman Forever. Now, I know Batman Forever, it's a really great film in my opinion. It's probably one of two reasons why the color green is my favorite color, and it's the first Batman film that I would ever show my kids while they're growing up. And I think it's really the defining movie that sets the crossroads between the dark and kind of craziness of the Tim Burton films and the Joel Schumacher completely cartoon. There's a lot of things for the whole family to enjoy, but there's enough elements of the comic book to really show just how interesting the character of Batman is. And bringing in Robin and kind of seeing how his background has some similarities to Bruce really shows why Bruce and Dick Grayson would be a really great team. It's a shame they didn't really spend more time with that. And I think the performances by the villains of Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, kind of cartoony, but I think works in this type of continuity. And Jim Carrey as the Riddler being probably the best thing about the whole film in general is a really great addition to my list, and if you haven't seen it, I would definitely suggest you check it out. Number 7 on my list is the very first X-Men film, directed by Bryan Singer, who also directed the second one and is going to be directing Days of Futures Past. Really showed why team movies like this can work. Now, I know that, some of you know that I really didn't enjoy the Avengers all that much, but this, in my opinion, really shows how you do a team-based movie. And out of any superhero group, whether you have the Justice League, the Avengers, or the X-Men, I would pick the X-Men every single time, because they are trained to work as a team. You don't just have a bunch of different, messed up people forced to work for a common good. They actually do enjoy working together and have learned to actually be stronger as a team. Now, I know over time that the movies kind of have generated more towards stories revolving around Wolverine, and it sort of started here in a sense, but I think that out of all the X-Men films, this one is the most team balanced. Although Wolverine is the main character, his storyline in particular doesn't really take the forerun, and I think that the other X-Men outside of Wolverine do play their parts very well, which is why it's on this list. Number 6 is Tim Burton's first Batman film. Obviously, you gotta have Batman on here. Michael Keaton's Batman is iconic, and Jack Nicholson's portrayal as the Joker really did set the standards for how villains should be played in all superhero films. This one went for a much deeper or noir look for its time, and a lot of its, dialogue, comedic jokes were kind of adult-based, and I didn't really get them until I was much, much older. And I find that every time I go back to watch this, I notice new things about it that I didn't see before, and so I think that's an amazing experience that you can go back, watch a movie which is over 20 years old, and still notice great things about it that still hold the test of time, even to this day. Number 5 on my list is Watchmen. Now, depending on who you are, or if you read the original source material, Watchmen was kind of a mixed bag. It kind of divided people. Some people liked it, some people hated it, some people were in the middle. I'm one of those people that legitimately liked seeing this in the theaters. It's a telling of a story of a more realistic sense of how superheroes would really exist in our type of world, and having to really deal with all the problems involving human nature, warfare, politics, nuclear warfare, the Holocaust, World War III, them thrown into this scenario, and then each of them kind of having their own viewpoint of what they would do, what their, other heroes would do, and how they should handle the situation. I think it handled it very well, and I am aware that they did change the ending. It did cause some major controversy, but I did see this before I read the source material, and I'm glad I did, because I think that both endings really do work on their own mediums. I would not really like to have seen their endings switched around, but that's just me. Number 4 on my list is Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is unquestionably, at this point, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man movie we have to date. It really goes over an idea that Peter Parker has to really know what he wants, to see him start losing his powers, go through a period of time where he doesn't want to be Superman, and then seeing the consequences of not taking responsibility. With, great power comes great responsibility. We really get to see that more in this particular film than we did in 1 or 3. Although we did have a really good scene in the first one where we see Peter Parker not stop that burglar who ended up kind of supposedly shooting his grandpa. And it's thrown much more forward in this particular movie. And, it really solidifies exactly what heroes have to do in order to hold that iconic standing. And that's why it's on this list. Number 3 on my list is X-Men First Class. Now, X-Men First Class was unquestionably the best comic-based superhero film that I had seen since The Dark Knight, before I went to go see The Dark Knight Rises, of course. And it really, the strongest thing about this film is the chemistry between Charles and Eric. I absolutely love storylines in terms of comic book stories that have just focused on two somewhat best friend characters which kind of stand on different sides of an issue, but can work together and become an even stronger team. The only real flaw that I can state I didn't like about X-Men First Class is I didn't like how Charles was crippled at the end, and I really would have liked to have seen them drag their friendship longer. I mean, if you've read any of the comic books or seen some of the cartoon series, they have this lasting friendship, and I don't think that you have a friendship like that with someone you know for like maybe less than a couple of weeks. They should have expanded it for over a couple of years and really showed how, even though they have different viewpoints on the situation, they're still very good friends. Now, hopefully this will get better in Days of Futures Past, and I hope they play off that in the next film, and that's why it's on this list. Number 2 on my list is X-Men 2 United. Now, outside of it having probably the best intro for a Marvel film ever, in my opinion, with Nightcrawler taking down all the Secret Service agents in the White House, this really did show the X-Men at their most vulnerable state, where the mansion is overthrown by soldiers. They take Cerebro, and they actually use the Professor as the ultimate mutant killer weapon, him being the most powerful telepath on the planet, and the X-Men and the Brotherhood having to put aside their differences to attack a common threat. I think that when you have a threat like that that really forces both heroes and villains to come together, it really brings a very great, unique story to see them kind of interact and really have to see both sides of, this is why I'm on this side of the war, and this is why you're on that side of the war. And although we may fight against each other, we do all agree that we all want to live, and we believe in mutants living, and they have a right to live. And it's good to see Magneto kick some serious butt breaking out of that prison. Number 1, as I'm sure many of you guys can guess already, is going to be the Dark Knight trilogy. I don't think I really need to go into detail as for why it's awesome. It's made by my all-time favorite director of all time, even long before he even did the Dark Knight trilogy with Batman Begins. and there's not enough great things I could say about it that I haven't already said in many of my reviews or topic videos that I've been discussing Batman films. So with that, that's where I'm going to leave it. If you like this list, please like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check for my future movie reviews, video game reviews, and top 10s videos, and tell me, what are some of your guys' top 10s videos? Because I'd really like to know, and so send them in the comments, and I will comment back to you. And like always, see you guys later, and I'll see you next time.